it's really interesting. It's kind of funny that she's kind of the one that got the big head. She's a little sassy, she knows what she wants.
Before the lights rose, before the applause echoed like a promise she could almost touch, Darci Lynne stood perfectly still. The girl America knew for her sparkling laugh and effortless joy was, for a single suspended moment, silent. Somewhere deep inside her, a memory trembled, one she had kept locked away for years. It was a day she never named publicly, a day she wished she could erase, a day that had nearly taken her voice from her, not on stage, but inside her own heart. People admired her for her confidence, her talent, her ability to make audiences believe in something whimsical and bright. But they never saw the moment the smile faltered, the moment she almost walked away from everything she had built. And if anyone had been close enough that day, they might have heard the most haunting truth of all. She wasn't sure she could keep going. But that was only the beginning. Most knew her as a prodigy. Few knew she once couldn't speak up in a crowded room. Long before the golden buzzer, Darci was the quiet child who tucked her emotions away like fragile keepsakes. She loved stories, humor, music, but sharing them felt impossible. Every time she tried, her voice would shrink into a whisper, swallowed by nerves she didn't yet understand. Yet something shifted the moment she discovered puppetry. It wasn't just a hobby, it was an unexpected doorway, one that allowed her to express everything she felt but struggled to say. When she held a puppet, people listened differently. They didn't stare at her, they followed the character. Behind the small wooden stage of local talent shows, her mother watched her transform. A shy girl finding courage in a voice not quite her own. But even in those early victories, a subtle strain lingered beneath the surface, an unspoken pressure quietly growing with every new performance. And that pressure, though invisible then, was already shaping a storm that would one day test her in ways no one could foresee. Her AGT audition was meant to be a moment of bravery, nothing more. But what happened that night would ignite a chain reaction she never expected. As the curtain lifted and Darci Lynne stepped into the brightest lights she had ever seen, something rare happened. The audience leaned in before she even spoke. Mel B's golden buzzer fell like a shower of gold, sealing her place not just in the competition, but in America's heart. Overnight, she became a sensation. Interviews flooded in, fan mail arrived by the boxes. Headlines called her the girl who brought ventriloquism back to the mainstream. But behind every standing ovation, a new expectation waited. Behind every compliment, another demand. She was 12, and the world wanted more. As her schedule filled, as cameras followed her every move, she tried to keep her smile perfect, because that's what everyone expected. That smile became part of her identity, a symbol of her talent. But that same smile would one day be the mask she relied on to hide something far more fragile, and even then, she had no idea that the pressure building around her was slowly carving the path toward the day she feared most. In the middle of this whirlwind, one figure helped anchor her, Gary Ricks Jr., an established performer whose own voice had once carried across stages much bigger than hers. He taught her breath control, tone precision, emotional presence, yet more importantly, he taught her how to withstand the unseen weight that fame places on those too young to understand its cost. He reminded her often that success wasn't measured by applause, but by endurance, the quiet ability to keep going when things felt overwhelming. Still, even he noticed the tension tightening around her, the schedule growing heavier, the emotional burden deepening. Every time she walked on stage, he saw her shift. A girl caught between childhood and a career rising faster than anyone could prepare for. He tried to shield her from the harsher edges of the spotlight, but there are battles even mentors can't prevent. Because the moment that would nearly break her wasn't born from career challenges alone. It would come from somewhere far more personal, somewhere she never expected. It began as an ordinary day, a rehearsal, a familiar routine, a puppet in her hands. But something was different. A tension hung in the air like an unspoken warning. What started as a disagreement shifted into something colder. Words were exchanged, sharp, careless, and devastating. Words that pierced deeper than anyone realized. For a girl still learning how to trust the world around her, the moment struck with staggering force. The betrayal felt sudden, crackling like a fracture she didn't know how to mend. In one breath, she felt her confidence vanish. And for the first time since discovering her passion, she questioned whether she could keep performing at all. Her laughter, once effortless, felt forced. Her smile, usually bright, felt heavy. Her voice, the very instrument that built her career, felt lost inside her chest. She left rehearsal that day shaken in a way few ever saw. And though she tried to hide it, those closest to her sensed the shift, a quiet unraveling she couldn't explain. What followed would send her into the darkest stretch of her young journey and force her to confront emotions she had never dared to face. For weeks, she pulled away from the spotlight. The world continued celebrating her, unaware she was privately wrestling with a storm she didn't have the words for. She appeared at events and people admired her glowing presence. But inside, she felt a widening distance between who she seemed to be and who she truly was. She feared disappointing those who believed in her. She feared being misunderstood. But most of all, she feared admitting how deeply she'd been hurt. Behind closed doors, she replayed that painful day over and over, trying to understand why it shattered her so deeply. Was it the pressure? The trust she had placed in the wrong person? The loneliness that sometimes comes with fame? She didn't know. She only knew she felt broken, and she didn't know how to ask for help. But life has a way of placing the right people in our path at the moment we need them most, even when we least expect it. It happened at a charity event, a gathering full of stories heavier than her own. Children fighting battles far more frightening, families holding on to hope with trembling hands. And in the middle of that room, a young girl approached her, a girl with a quiet smile and eyes that held a strength far beyond her years. She told Darci that her performances helped her feel brave, that her laughter made hospital days easier, that her courage inspired her to keep going even when everything felt impossible. In that moment, something inside Darci's shifted. She realized she wasn't standing in front of fans. She was standing in front of lives she had touched, hearts she had lifted, people who didn't expect perfection from her, just authenticity. The weight she had been carrying didn't disappear, but it began to transform. She understood that her pain didn't make her weak, it made her human. And being human allowed her to connect more deeply than she ever imagined. That moment became her turning point. Her reminder that she still had a voice worth sharing. But there was still one more truth waiting for her to uncover, one that would redefine her path forward. Returning to the stage wasn't easy, but she stepped back into the lights with a different purpose, one no longer driven by perfection, but by meaning. Her performances changed subtly. There was more emotion in her tone, more soul in her singing, more warmth in the way she connected with audiences. Her puppets weren't just characters, they became companions in her healing process, each show a quiet promise to herself that she wouldn't be defined by her darkest day, that she wouldn't surrender her gift because of one moment of heartbreak. Slowly, she felt the confidence return, not the fragile kind built on external praise, but the grounded kind that comes from understanding your own resilience. And with that strength came a realization she had long avoided. She didn't need to hide behind a mask of perfect happiness. She didn't need to pretend she was unshakable. Her vulnerability could be part of her story and part of her power. But her greatest revelation was still to come, one that would forever change how she viewed that painful chapter of her life. Today, her smile carries a different kind of light, not the effortless shine of childhood innocence, but the glow of someone who survived something internal, something unspoken, something that nearly took her joy away. She doesn't dwell on the specifics of what hurt her. Some details remain locked within her heart, protected, but absence of detail does not diminish the truth of what she lived through. What matters is the person she became, A young woman who understands that strength isn't the absence of pain, it's the decision to rise above it. A performer who knows that every laugh she creates is also a gift she gives herself. A storyteller who learned that healing doesn't come all at once. It arrives in small, courageous moments. The smile she wears now isn't a mask. It's a reflection of the journey she survived. A reminder that even the brightest people can face shadows and still step forward. Her story is far from over, but the chapter that once filled her with fear has become something else entirely, a testament to her resilience, a quiet triumph, a truth she carries with grace. And in the end, the day that almost broke her became the day that ultimately made her stronger.